for the record.
My name is Ken Leon-Guerrero. I'm a community advocate, have been for the past 12 years, and I'm also a candidate for the 36th Guam Legislature. But more important than that, I'm a citizen of Guam, and I'm very concerned about the ramifications of this latest executive order. I'm concerned about the bypassing of the administrative adjudication process. I'm concerned about the bypassing the open government laws. And this administration has not covered itself in a lot of glory when it comes to how it has been handling this pandemic. And I would have thought that at a time like this, the government would have wanted to do everything to restore trust and confidence in the government, so that the people would be more willing to follow the guidance of the government. This executive order and proclamations do the exact opposite. I am hearing from so many people who feel that this is overreach on the part of the administration. And while I have every confidence in Art, I've watched him operate for years, I'm not comfortable with the fact that all public input is discretionary. I mean, for example, this meeting right here, the way it was announced, it was public health has decided that we would hold this hearing. It wasn't the fact that it was a mandatory part of the governing process. There's a little phrase that everybody seems to be overlooking. It's called consent of the governed. Government derives its power, authority, and ability to operate at the consent of the governed. And when you cut the governed out of that consent process, you introduce fear, anxiety, doubt, suspicion, and you create the very conditions that you're trying to avoid. You want compliance with you want the people to comply with the orders. The people have been complying with the orders. All we have to do is look at our mortality rate. Our mortality rate is tracking the same this year in a pandemic as we did in 2018 and 2019. The number one cause of death right now is underlying conditions aggravated by COVID. And if you look at the number one cause of death in 18 and 19, it was all the different comorbidities, cardiac disease, diabetes, high blood pressure, cancer. So the reason why there's a big difference between infection rate, death rate, and positive tests. And this administration, by cutting the people out of the process, leads us to assume the worst. And when we look at what we're building on a series of dubious financial transactions involving millions of dollars of money that were supposedly put here to take care of the people. And when those things happened, they happened without public oversight. So to continue down that road is going to create more suspicion about the actions of the government. I mean, I'm now hearing people saying, and I'm one of them actually, that believes that we're maintaining this level of lockdown purely for the federal funding, purely for the justification of expensing the federal funding on payrolls and equipment to support the lockdowns. I'm a little upset that we're talking about taking the leftover CARES Act money and using it to buy everybody lunch at a restaurant that they will have to eat in the parking lot. This is money that should be used to improve public health, strengthen public health, because we've been battling this chronic disease longer than we've been battling the pandemic, and we were losing the battle against chronic diseases. This pandemic just only, stepped on the accelerator. And so when I hear that we are focusing more on locking down we're actually aggravating the very conditions that cause spread. We're taking generations of people and we're locking them in their homes. We're limiting their ability to go outside and exercise, get and get healthier. We're limiting contact with people. We have a large population that has chronic diseases, and we're locking them in houses together with multiple generations. That's not conducive to a healthy situation. And when you consider that the largest spread is government of Guam, I mean, we've had a number of instances at churches and at stores and restaurants and stuff, but we have had nowhere near the positive detection rate in those non-government events that we are seeing in government operation events. So I think that for this operation to move forward and be credible with the public, it needs to be open and transparent. Instead of having secret meetings where with no notes taken, all the meetings between the physicians advisory group and administration officials should be documented, should be videotaped, just like this meeting is right now, just like public hearings at the legislature, session at the legislature, board meetings at all the different autonomous agencies. That way the people of Guam can have insight into what the decision makers are thinking and how those thoughts are going to impact our quality of life. Right now, by meeting behind closed doors in secret rooms, not disclosing any information, the anxiety factor is going to shoot up, the fear factor is going to shoot up, the suspicion factors are going to shoot up through the roof. The government is going to lose credibility, and you're going to start running into resistance against the most basic requests, which the people of Guam have complied with so far. So my recommendation would be to, if we're going to maintain this executive order, on the emergency shutdown, such as it is, we need to do it in an open and transparent manner. We need to have more public meetings streamed, not less. We need to take public input into the processes regarding the decision making and the expenditures. I still can't believe the taxpayers of Guam just spent $1 million of care money on a hospital that we could have gotten free from Joint Region. So that is what causes the suspicion to drive. This is very similar in the eyes of the people to that $5 million payment to the Pacific Star with no contract, no quotes, no bidding. This is another one. How many more things like this are going to happen with the remaining CARES Act money? Because at the end of this year, contrary to what the administration officials are saying and the legislature is saying, there's no guarantee that we're getting more money from the federal government. Even in Washington, they're not guaranteeing that there's going to be more money. They're talking about it, but they've been talking about the Green Energy Initiative for how long? So what we need to do is be realistic in how our government governs. We need to be respectful that government derives its power from the consent of the governed and include the governed in the decision-making process. That concludes my testimony.
Thank you very much, Mr. Leon-Guerrero.